Hi, this is Dr. Al Reichman, Ahavat Masai Ministries. Welcome to our weekly vlog. I'm glad that you tuned in this week. This week we want to talk about the Torah. There's nothing more central in the life of a Jewish person, an observant Jewish person, than the Torah. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy is what comprises the Torah. And even rabbis will focus more on Torah than Haftorah, which are the prophets, and on any other of the books in the Hebrew Bible. They have all the same books that you have in yours if you're a believer. They have from Genesis to Malachi. They're in a little different order. But the focus is more so on the Torah, because it's in Torah that we learn how our people came to be. It's in Torah that we learn what it means to be Jewish. It's in Torah that we learn how to live that Jewish life in order to please our holy and righteous God. And that is the target goal, to please God in your life here on the earth. And so the Torah is very important. The law of Moses, it encompasses 613 commandments that God gave to Moses. And then that's the oral Torah. And then the written Torah, you have the what the rabbis have added in addition. But all of these are necessary in our pursuit of keeping Torah and seeking to please God. They come in two forms. You have the book form, which is called a Chumash, and it is just simply the Torah in book form. And then you have the scrolls, and they usually will have a decorative cover. They'll also be, in the synagogue, very large. You would carry them on your shoulder, and you would have the decorative cover removed, and then you would have silver crowns and silver finials and a silver breastplate on that cover. And then you would unroll the scrolls to the weekly Torah portion, and it would be read and it would be studied throughout the week. And so you would have the Torah, and it's important to understand that this is sacred. The name of God is here. Therefore, you don't touch it with your hand. When you're reading the Torah, in order to keep your place, and of course, I hope you understand that Hebrew reads from right to left. I had somebody in the church one time ask me, why is it those Jews read backwards? And I looked at him and I said, have you ever considered maybe it's you that's reading backwards? I mean, whose culture predates whose? And we just kind of get to be the center of the universe here in the Western Hemisphere sometimes. But anyhow, it reads from right to left, and you could see that the print is oftentimes very small. They can be very large. They can be up towards around 3 feet tall, but they're very costly. When they come from Jerusalem, one man spends an entire year transcribing those scrolls. So when he gets to the place where he makes a mistake, he doesn't just get the white out and cover it up and go over it. He starts over again. So it's very tedious work. It's very time-consuming work. So you're paying this one man's entire year's salary for him to produce this scroll for you. So they can be very costly. But the thing is, because the name of God is here, it's sacred. So you would never, ever, as you're reading along, put your hands on it, on the page. You would use what's called a yod, because you need to keep your spot. As if you've ever looked at one of these, the lines are very close together, and it'd be very difficult to follow if you didn't have some way of keeping track. So you use a yod. It can look like this. It can be very decorative. It can look like this. But whatever yod you have has what looks like this, like your hand with your index finger pointing, and you would use that as you would read through to keep your spot. so that your hand never touches it, because you don't want to defile it in any way. Now, there's another book that's important in the synagogue, and that's called the Siddur. The Siddur has portions of the scriptures in them. It also has prayers. But because it has those portions of scriptures, and even some of the prayers, the name of God is here. So therefore, this book is sacred. So if the Siddur ever even tends to accidentally fall on the floor, you would pick it up and dust it off on both sides, kiss it on both sides to show proper respect for it. And of course, in the next session, we'll get into a little more about that when it deals with how respecting the Torah scrolls. And I'll bring that out a little more in the next session. But it's funny, I have a friend that went to a synagogue. I was bringing my Bible group to that same synagogue. He got there before I could get my group there. He got ahead of me, called me that night afterwards, and he was so frustrated. He said, all they did was sing. All they did was sing from the hymnal. I said, they don't have a hymnal. He said, yes, they do, and all they did was sing. And I told him, I said, it was not a hymnal, it was a prayer book. It's called a Siddur. And he said, no, it was a hymnal. And I said, there are prayers and there are passages of Scripture in there, and you sing them, you don't just speak them. And to this day, I can't convince him that this is not a hymnal. This is a Siddur, and it's a prayer book, but it's sacred because the name of God is included in here on those pages that deal with those Scripture passages and those prayers. And so we'll continue on this discussion in the next one. I hope you'll tune in next week. Don't forget to send us your questions, and we'll look them over and see what ones we can deal with and how much time we can. Maybe we'll take an entire session and just deal with your questions. ahavatmessiah.com, and you'll be able to send us your questions through our website. Thanks so much. See you next time.